Hi there. Congratulations on your employment with the AI Group Apprentice and Trainee Centre. As part of your induction with the ATC, I'll be running you through a few important things to know about us, what we do, and about your apprenticeship or traineeship in general. So, first off, a bit more about who we are. So, we are the AI Group Apprentice and Trainee Centre, more commonly known as the ATC. It is important to remember that we are your direct employer. What that means is that while you are employed by us, we will always pay your wages and your superannuation. We will also provide mentoring, guidance, and support throughout the entirety of your training. That is going to be most regularly through your employment and training consultant, or ETC. Our support also extends to your time at work as well as at your RTO, so please don't hesitate to get in touch if you ever need help with anything. As we are your direct employer, it is important that we're kept up to date on any changes or issues that happen elsewhere in your training. So if you're ever going to be absent from work or your RTO, so if you're sick, running late, or need to take leave, it's important that you let your ETC know about that as well. A bit more now about how all of these different parties interact with each other. Us, the ATC, we're what's known as a group training organization, or a GTO. We're the ones who hire you, the apprentices and trainees, and place you with your host company. Your host, quite simply, is who provides you the work that you do on a day-to-day basis. They also ensure that you receive the correct on-the-job training, as well as providing supervision and a safe working environment. Lastly, your registered training organization, or RTO, they are the ones who deliver the classroom side of your training. That is the structured and blended training that complements what you learn on the job. Your RTO, which is more commonly referred to as TAFE, also deliver and assess what's known as your units of competency, which we will discuss more in a moment. Overall, the ATC, your host employer, and your TAFE are working together behind the scenes throughout the entirety of your training to make sure you meet all the requirements to actually complete your qualification. So, what does competency actually mean? As part of the training plan development that will commence once you sign your training contract on induction day, you will eventually be provided with a list of units of competency. These will be negotiated behind the scenes by us, your host, and your TAFE to make sure you can actually successfully complete your apprenticeship or traineeship. As I mentioned, what you learn at TAFE will complement what you learn on the job and gives you a good balance of theory and practical learning that will allow you to carry out any aspects of your training to the required competency standard. And what that basically means is that once you're deemed competent in a task, you're able to carry it out correctly to the appropriate standard of your industry and above all, safely. Your TAFE will then assess you in detail on these units and then discuss those results with us. We can then sign you off as competent in conjunction with your host, and you can then progress to the next new thing and continue to build on your knowledge and skills. You may already be aware of some of the benefits of the apprenticeship or traineeship that you are about to start, but we like to highlight a few that we think are very unique and set you up to succeed. First and foremost, you have the ability to earn while you learn. Getting a wage while you work towards your qualification really gives you that financial stability that can make all the difference. At the same time, you are also gaining real life work experience in your chosen field, as well as gaining valuable and nationally recognized job skills that you can take anywhere and use throughout your career. Lastly, there is a lot of flexibility available to you in your learning. We'll always try and make sure you're in the best position to succeed. So if you ever feel like you need to change things up slightly, please let us know. Now, as employees of the ATC, there are certain expectations that we have of you. I'll go through some of the most important ones now. So, attending your RTO as well as completing your on the job training is a compulsory aspect of your apprenticeship or traineeship. This means always working or attending TAFE as it is scheduled in your roster. Please never work under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or fatigue. Fatigue is important to note as it is not always considered in the same realm as alcohol or drugs, but fatigue can be just as debilitating. So please make sure you're never working when you feel fatigued. It will help you avoid any avoidable incidents at work. Please make sure you always wear the correct PPE and that it is always intact. As it says down the bottom there, we provide you with all the PPE you require. That includes spares or replacements. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your ETC if you need new PPE, as we don't want you turning up to work with PPE that won't protect you properly. Communication with your ETC is important for plenty of other reasons as well. Namely, if you're ever having problems with your training, your host supervisor, or colleagues. Also, if you ever need to take leave or are running late to work or TAFE, please let your ETC know. They are your first point of contact here at the ATC and your number one resource. They're there to help you, so please make the most of that. Now, even though we are your direct employer, you will be spending most of your time with your host company. So it is especially important to build a positive and strong relationship with your colleagues and your host supervisor to ensure that you get the most out of your time there. You also want to make sure you make a good first impression and show that you're keen to get stuck in and that you want to learn. A few ways you can do this is always arriving at work on time. It's a good idea to make sure you are arriving early so that you're ready to start at your start time and not 5 or 10 minutes after. Please respect all property, tools, and equipment. That goes for anywhere you would work. But for a lot of you, you are working in quite unique workplaces. And so the gear you work with can be very rare, delicate, or expensive. So please be especially careful. We do encourage you to ask lots of questions, not just to show that you want to learn, but also to make sure you are safe. We'd much rather you ask 10 questions to make sure you're 100% certain on how to do something instead of being a bit unsure and guessing. Attending your RTO is an important aspect of your host company time as well as ours. Think of it as your host is giving up some of their time with you to allow you to go to TAFE. So please respect their time as much as you would respect your own time and ours when going to TAFE. And lastly, as much as we need to know when you're taking leave or running late prior to your start time, it is just as important that your host company knows as well. This will ensure that you're respecting your host's time, limiting safety concerns around non-attendance, and that way everyone is always on the same page. And as much as we have certain expectations of you as an employee of the ATC, you can have certain expectations of us. So a few of those now. We will always make sure you are working in a safe environment. We're always there to advise you of your responsibilities relating to work or TAFE if you're ever unsure. We will also make sure you're always receiving the correct training at work and TAFE. We are always there to answer any questions you have, as I mentioned. And as it says on the slide there, please contact your ETC about anything. Save their number in your phone and reach out when you have an issue. Even if it is outside business hours within reason, your ETC will try and get back to you as soon as possible. As mentioned earlier, we will always be paying your wages and super. We're also there to support your host as well as you. We work with them to make sure they have everything they need to provide you the best possible experience. We're always there to provide you with the mentoring support and assistance that you need, which includes regularly visiting you on site, as well as conducting performance appraisals. And as I mentioned before, we will provide you with any and all PPE that you require. So that's all from me for now. If you're ever unsure about anything, as I mentioned today, you can always ask your ETC. Best of luck for starting your apprenticeship or traineeship journey.